The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah. Good morning, guys. That's right. It is Wednesday, February 12th, you guys. Today is National Plum Pudding Day.
What kind of pudding?
Plum.
I feel like every day is a different pudding for you, Jason. What's up with this pudding fetish you've been?
I don't make the days. Okay, I don't make the days. I just announce them.
Do you eat pudding with fingers like?
Easy there. Well, at least you didn't say Bill Cosby.
The pudding man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Bill Cosby got in trouble with those pudding pops.
Yeah, the pudding pops. Exactly. Anyways, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. We are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, and also on Kick, as well as our very own website at www.highat9news.com. We're trying to figure something out with the LinkedIn to make that work again. So we're working through that, you guys. So thank you all for joining us from whatever platform you all are joining us on. And we are going to kick it off with the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte. The darker shade of Tim Pool today, apparently, with a gray beanie. Just because he just can't stay away. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Is Tim Pool one of those white nationalist guys?
No, he's not a white nationalist. He's actually from Chicago. He's actually from your hometown.
That doesn't mean he's not a white nationalist.
Oh, God.
Just saying.
He's actually. I'm just saying too.
I'm always down for asking the tough questions.
We know you are, Rico, but no, that's not the case.
You know, just want to know.
They're called logical fallacies, Rico. They flow out indeed. Like water.
Yes. But
oh man,
in yet another story emphasizing the point that IRS code 280E is in fact an existential threat to cannabis operators of all sizes. Bloomberg News' Stephen Church and Reshmu Basu sounded the alarm this morning about the industry facing a debt reckoning without bankruptcy help. Per the article, cannabis industry faces a financial crisis as multi-state operators struggle with $6 billion of debt coming due this next year. Unlike other industries, cannabis companies cannot file for bankruptcy protection due to federal marijuana prohibition, making it extremely difficult to renegotiate loans and access traditional financing. Many businesses will be forced to refinance at a higher rate later this year, while others may go under. Schwazi, a Colorado-based cannabis company, is among those seeking out-of-court restructuring after defaulting on debt obligations. The industry as a whole has been declining profitability, with only 27% of operators reporting profits in 2023, down 42% from 2022. Numbers for 2024 still preliminary. Will be not looking so good so far, though. Federal restrictions on banking and marijuana's classification as a Schedule I drug continue to hinder the industry. While rescheduling to Schedule III could provide tax relief and improve profitability, it remains uncertain whether the Trump administration will follow through with the process initiated under Biden. Legal cannabis businesses also face competition from illicit sellers who evade taxes and regulations, capturing an estimated $44 billion in sales last year alone. Without federal reform, experts warn that the industry could collapse, leaving large outside firms poised to take over at bargain prices. I'm already seeing it out here in California, y'all. It is a full-time jack move. So without federal reform, looks like we are going under. But yeah, y'all can go ahead and listen to Jason Beck, Jesse Barney, and Jenny Beth Dills' opinions that Republican U.S. Senator James Lankford's crusade to halt 280 relief for cannabis businesses are a big old nothing burger. But I'm going to keep serving up fries and shakes of data-backed truth, because the numbers are telling a much different story that I believe we all should be listening to very closely. And also, Jenny Beth, Diet Coke contains aspartame. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for Hide 9 News. What you got to say about that, Jason?
Aspartame, huh?
That's right. That's right.
I mean, we all know that you love to gaslight, Rico, and that's just what you do.
How was this gaslighting?
Yeah, you're totally.
You tried to say that they're them trying to take.
It is a nothing sandwich.
Hold on. You asked me a question. I'm following up.
Sorry.
And I'm saying that you guys tried to say that I was gaslighting by these Republicans screaming that we do not need tax protection. James Lankford and Pete Ricketts teamed up with Project Sam, and now they're screaming at a bunch of prohibitionists. Another one has been ushered in yesterday that Omar's going to be talking about into office that are more open to listening to them. We should be focused on this, and we should be talking about this. This story is not a nothing burger. Leave it at that.
So I'm not saying that the story is not a nothing sandwich, okay? Just so you know.
You did. You said it twice.
Slow down. I'm going to tell you what I said. Okay. All right. Easy there. I did say that I do think that this is a story, but I think the legislation is DOA is dead on arrival. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And that's what I'm saying when I say that it's a big old nothing sandwich. In regards to that is my position on it. I don't think that the legislation is going to go anywhere, but except for, someone's desk somewhere and just collect dust. That's my opinion on it. But I do think it's important to talk about.
280E is going to kill this industry.
Yeah.
I'm dead. We don't get some relief on this.
I agree with that, Dale.
California jacking their excise up to 19%. It's just putting another rock in the backpack that, the industry can't carry right now.
Also, too, Sohum has a story today, too, that's gonna touch on this, too. So, like, today is a big tax day, apparently. It might as well just be April, Omar.
Are either of you well-versed in tax law? Because
yes, I am.
I kind of don't want to pay my motherfucking taxes this year. If Donald Trump is going to be...
Yeah, I mean...
if he's going to be tearing apart the IRS, yeah. I ain't trying to pay because I know that motherfucker ain't giving me my money back. I do not trust Donald Trump or Elon Musk to give me my money back if I pay. So should I not even pay?
They're the most likely to give you your money back, Rico.
Asking for a man that is not in the room right now.
Would be, unless you have a direct line to the Trump administration and you can get the dispensations that he's handing out, like the Catholic Church that was handing out indulgences. You don't want to be sinning unless you can get a dispensation in advance from the Trump administration. But they sure are selling dispensations. And, we're seeing that with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that got disbanded after Trump stiffed his own supporters out of $2,000 million, $2 billion with his meme coin scam.
What?
Oh, yeah. I would love to, I would like to know if communion wafers are tax deductible.
Oh, God.
They're untaxable because they're exempt from the whole taxation system. It's, we claim that we have separation of church and state, and we certainly have that when it comes to taxation, but only that.
This is an interesting one because I know Jesse Barney would be all over this situation. That brings up a super interesting point, Omar. In regards with the separation of church and state. I mean, because there's how is it that a lot of these state agencies have been funding a lot of these churches?
You tell me. They should be paying taxes like everybody else.
I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that.
Right?
I don't.
Why Joel Osteen got a damn a private jet, multiple Rolls Royces, all that because tithing. You know, bring your tithes here, 10%, motherfuckers. I will break you off a miracle like you've never seen before. How about that? Let's start our own church, Jason. Come on, man.
I'm not opposed to that. I'm so not opposed to that. I'm here for the tax breaks. You know, Benjamin Franklin said that
if you're gonna do it, there's a right way to do it, and I can advise you on how to do it. But basically, it cannot be unrecognizable to a religion to a judge who's probably an Episcopalian or evangelical Christian. You know, and so it has to be something that they are going to recognize. So if you take an existing religion, like let's say, you know, the Roman Catholic Church, and you substitute psychedelic mushrooms.
We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that, Omar. We're not going to go that far. No, we're not going to go that far. We're going to start like a real church.
Yeah, I want motherfuckers to tithe and give tithes to the truth.
Right. Lots of subscribers. You know, I think that subscription model was invented by the church of like, you know, having influencers being supported by their subscribers. So,
you know, Steve Blessingham in the chat, Rico, he says get the extension. Just file for the extension, and probably by that time, you know what I'm saying, Doge will have kicked in, and all the IRS agents will be gone.
Every year, I had been doing that every year, but I have a lot of stuff that I have to do quarterly, and that shit starts to build up. And I don't have time later on. I try to file another extension. Next thing I know, I have a penalty, and these motherfuckers calling. So I'm not.
I never realized you
habits.
I never realized you got extensions.
There's incipient chaos coming. I don't know if the IRS is going to be very functional. I'm sure they're really going to be looking for like the very, you know, like the welfare cheats, the people who are like skimming tiny bits from the system, but they're not going to be looking at the big tax cheats, the hedge fund managers, you know, the offshore corporations, all of these Wyoming trusts. And so I think,
Well, you know why they
down the road as far as you can might not be a bad strategy, but there's no guarantees, and I'm not a tax lawyer, so this is not tax advice.
Okay. Well, my theory, and this is my theory, unlike Jason, I don't try to pass theory off as truth, but my theory on why they haven't, why Doge didn't start with the IRS is because all these billionaires ain't paying taxes already. So they're starting with the organizations that are getting them in trouble and trying to gut them first. So just my thoughts on that. You know,
I want to see what happens when the court issues an order and the executive branch ignores it.
It's already happened. Trump was told to unfreeze the frozen funds, and he just said, "Make
no." There's a reason why he had Andrew Jackson. There's multiple reasons why he had Andrew Jackson, a bust of Andrew Jackson in his office, and one of them
he does have the best statue in the Senate.
One of them was directly related to that because that's exactly what Andrew Jackson did. I would like to see the enforcement arm of the court.
Well, I'll tell you what, you know, these woke
enforce it now. You made your order.
Yeah, these woke judges do need to be put in line though, because they can't be obstructing the will of the people, and the people clearly voted for this.
That's the whole point of having judges.
Checks and balances, Jason.
You cannot allow the tyranny of the majority to overrule the rights of everybody else. That's why we have Constitution. That's why we have the rule of law. That's why we have rights. You know, yes, you can. That's what judges are there for, to say no to the majority when it's acting in a tyrannical way. That's why we don't have, you know, like mass, you know, I guess what would that be called? Just like the rule of the mob, you know, autocracy.
Freedom. That's freedom.
Hold on, you guys. We just got a super chat in. This is hilarious. You guys are gonna love this. This is classic. Shout out to the Cole Memo. Thank you so much, Mr. Cole Memo. It says, I only worship one God, Hunter Biden.
must have been this Coke dealer back
Oh
in the day.
man, Cole, that's a good one, Cole.
fantastic.
That's a fantastic super chat. That was well worth it. I mean, ultimately, you know, taxes are the vein of our existence, and again, as I said earlier, you know, Benjamin Franklin said that it's every American's duty to pay as least tax as possible, and I know I subscribe to that, and I hope all of you will subscribe to that. I actually have fought the IRS in a tax case and whatnot, and tax case is probably the worst case that you can fight in law, in my opinion, because in tax case you are guilty until proven innocent. It is exact opposite of our whole justice system all the way around, and it sucks balls.
Death to the Fed. How about that?
Death to the IRS, bro. Death to the IRS. I'm all eliminate them. And I was so thankful that Kristi Noem called for all those IRS agents to go out in the field and help with the border patrol. And so hopefully that kicks in and starts working.
I wonder if they have puppies with them.
Stop it.
But who's going to replace them? Where are they going to go?
Who cares? Who needs to? We don't need to replace them. That's the point, Dale.
We amended the Constitution to allow the feds to collect income tax. Okay, whether you like it or not, it's there.
Well, we need to make a new amendment. Then we need to reverse course on that.
Good luck with that. Good fucking luck with amending the Constitution. Ain't going to happen.
Hey, it might. You know,
Well,
pigs have flown.
Who wants to see an amendment of the Constitution? Like, if they had to pass the Bill of Rights again, I don't think a lot of the amendments would pass in their current form. We don't want to go back to the age of mob rule.
The age of mob rule. Man, oh man, you guys.
MOB.
Man, on that, you know what? We are going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Yeah.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? And I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBD? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade. And in a GMP certified facility, so you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Stay woke.
And we are back, you guys.
It's the man, the myth, the legend coming to the stage next. High at 9 News head honcho, the cannabis industry's very own Kaiser Brose, known to many in red states as a truth teller.
It's facts. Even in blue states. Even in blue states, even if they don't want to admit it, Rico. You know what I mean? Just is what it is. Well, I have some fantastic news to share with you guys today. Man, this brings me such joy that I get to share this with you guys today. Because U.S. school teacher Marc Fogel was released by Russia. Per the White House, you guys. That's right. American school teacher and former diplomat Marc Fogel has been released from prison in Russia and was made it to the White House last night, according to U.S. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Waltz said Mr. Fogel's release had been negotiated as part of an exchange with Russia without providing further details. He said Mr. Fogel, 63, was on a plane with Steve Witkoff, President Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, and would be reunited with his family on Tuesday. Well, and then in a quote, they say, "We are beyond grateful, relieved, and overwhelmed that after more than 3 years of detention, our father, husband, and son, Marc Fogel, is finally coming home." Mr. Fogel's family said in a statement to CBS News, the BBC's U.S. news partner, in a quote, they say, "This has been the darkest and most painful period of our lives. But today, we begin to heal." His wife, Jane, and sons, Ethan and Sam, said in the statement, Mr. Fogel was arrested at an airport for the illegal possession of cannabis back in 2021. He was charged with carrying a small amount of medical marijuana, which had been prescribed in the U.S. and had given a 14-year prison sentence. Mr. Fogel's legal team thanked President Donald Trump for his role in negotiating and criticized what they called the bureaucratic inaction of the previous Biden administration. I would say that that's fair. In a quote, they say, President Trump secured Marc's release in just a few weeks, wasting no time in taking decisive action to bring Marc home, a statement from his lawyer said. In an interview with CBS in July of last year, Mr. Fogel's mother, Melphine Fogel, was also critical of former President Joe Biden's handling of her son's case. In a quote, she says, I don't think the administration has helped us one bit. She said at the time, the Biden White House did not respond to CBS's request for comment, and among the family's complaints, Mr. Fogel wasn't classed by the U.S. government as wrongfully detained until December of 2024, despite beginning his sentence in 2022. U.S. basketball star Brittany Grenier was arrested in Russia on a similar charge of cannabis possession in 2022, but was freed in exchange for Russian arms dealer Viktor Bout 10 months later. That's right, he was known as the Merchant of Arms. Mr. Fogel from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, was a teacher at the Anglo-American School of Moscow, and he had previously worked as a diplomat at the U.S. Embassy there. While in prison, he reportedly taught English to fellow inmates, and Waltz said Mr. Fogel's release was a show of good faith from the Russians and a sign we are moving in the right direction to end the brutal and terrible war in Ukraine. It is unclear if the U.S. released someone in return for Mr. Fogel, and Russia did not immediately comment on Mr. Fogel's release either. But I can tell you what, I was watching the news and watching this whole thing last night, and Mr. Fogel did make it to the White House last night, met with President Trump and others over there at the White House, and actually even got to spend the night in the Lincoln bedroom, you guys. So shout out to Mr. Fogel. Welcome home. This is the 10th captive releasee that the Trump administration has secured since the beginning of his tenure as president. And I just want to give a big thank you and big hats off to this administration for going after and securing our POWs across all of these different countries. They're doing a fantastic job with this. Everybody involved with this. I can't say enough good things in regards with this. And one other final note. President Trump also did mention yesterday in the press conference that there was going to be another Russian detainee that was going to be released today. And as a matter of fact, on top of that, he also signaled that Putin's release of Marc Fogel was going to be the catalyst for the end of the war in Ukraine. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Weed for the people.
I'm gonna let Omar and Dale give a legal take on this, but I just want to talk some shit real quickly here. All right, so I want to know what the fuck they gave up for this. If they're letting a Russian citizen walk free, they let him walk free in America. Whatever. What?
I think it was it's from my understanding.
What kind of backlash would Joe Biden ass get for that? For letting somebody walk free, a Russian citizen walk free amongst us without even telling us who the fuck it was.
There wasn't anybody that was released.
That's all I want to say.
There wasn't anybody that was released. There was no trade.
I'm gonna cede the rest to everybody else to talk their shit.
There was no trade,
Please.
Rico.
I'm really happy for Marc Fogel and his family, and I think that Putin is responsible for this. It was a human rights abuse from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
He should have been released months ago. He should have been released when Trump was elected, if Trump had any influence with Putin. So it just shows how weak and diminished Trump is now on the world stage.
What?
I think that Musk is going to be making deals to release Americans in the future because Trump ain't doing that from the golf course. I think he should not be taking a victory lap over Marc Fogel's release because Trump really had little to do with it. If he did have the control he claims to have over Putin, why didn't it happen sooner? And why hasn't the other American been released? And trading Marc Fogel, who should not have been seized in the first place, for Ukraine is nothing to celebrate.
There was no trade.
Seize an American and use him as a pawn. for a country that should not have been invaded, ridiculous. So I don't like this appeasement. I'm not into it. Dale, what do you think?
Well, when I heard that they finally said he's wrongfully detained, it's like, what took you so long? I mean, the guy rolls in with a couple of buds of medical cannabis, and they claim he's a international drug trafficker, give him 14 years. Okay? United States has done and continues to do the same goddamn thing because we over prosecute weed at the federal level still. Okay. And this guy should never have been touched. I mean, if anything, he should have been told, here, get back on the plane, get out of here, take his weed away and go. That's not how it works out. And if in the United States, we're finally recognizing that putting someone in prison for weed is wrongful detention, it's like, okay, all you space cadets, where are you when these things come up for votes or when you can, yell at your congressman or senator, do something about this? This has been going on for a long time here in the United States. Okay? And no one should be in prison for weed. And let me just say that plainly. I don't care what country you're in. And if in this country we're finally recognizing, oh, you should never have been locked up, well, okay, let's put the mirror in front of you and ask yourself, why in the hell are we still going after people for weed in this country? Why is Sam still trying to control the narrative? Why is the DEA dragging its feet here? Why can't they just get their head out of their ass and do something? We're still talking 280E, killing the industry, 19% excise tax in California. All this because weed is legal and people still, I can't imagine it. Well, what are we doing here? Yeah, I'm glad the guy's home. His 93-year-old mom needed to see him again. He should never have been locked up. Yeah. I mean, hell, I should have never had to eat with a spork for 5 years. Okay?
And Jason,
recognize what we've been doing to our own citizens, and let's set some comparisons up here. If you don't like it in Russia, why in the fuck are we doing it here? Stop this.
And Jason, I just pulled it up on 5 different websites, left and right, saying that there was a Russian citizen, unnamed Russian citizen, was released in the U.S. after they got Fogel back.
I don't know that could be that could be
unnamed what happened to the Ministry of Truth?
I don't know that could be misinformation. I'm not sure if I'm buying that as of yet, because I watched exactly the words that came out of everybody's mouth last night in regards to this. And shout out to Melfine Fogel. Okay, she actually met with President Trump. Okay, at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally prior to the botched assassination attempt. Okay, and where she asked for President Trump to help get her
assassination attempt.
that was
the one that took off his ear that miraculously grew right back.
Right.
Yes.
On an 80-year-old man.
All of their protocol and let him stand up again and expose his head to the shooter.
Hey, bro, that was the most powerful moment. Most powerful moment you've got to witness in American history, Sohum.
What? You got to get lucky sometime, right?
Oh right. God, you guys are crazy, man. I can't believe you guys always looking for the bad and the good. This is just an all good story, and you guys are just like just poo-pooing it.
I think it's funny if you think that this happened in Trump's first 3 weeks in office. I have some beachfront property in Arizona that I think you might.
This definitely didn't happen under Biden's tenure.
Marco Rubio's Jason Marco Rubio's exact statement. There were other people before us that definitely got the ball rolling, but this has definitely happened because of Donald Trump's strong opinion. And words.
It definitely happened because of Trump. That's the only sentence that even matters. You know what I mean? That's the only sentence that matters in that sentence.
Because Russia did not release any prisoners under Biden's presidency, right? They didn't release 2 very high profile ones.
That's right.
What?
Brittany Griner, remember her?
Oh, Brittany Griner. Yeah. But no, that was a trade. That was a trade for the Merchant of Death. That was a very unfair trade.
This is a trade too.
This is a very unfair trade. Very unfair trade.
According to Donald Trump, the prisoner trade was
spy plus Ukraine for a guy who should never have been arrested. Insane. What kind of trade is that?
I don't know. I'm looking forward to this war ending and Marc Fogel being the catalyst that starts it all.
Donald Trump says, Donald Trump's exact words today, the deal with Russia was quote, very fair, very reasonable, and also somebody else
said that
will be
last
released.
night. Yeah, someone else is getting released today. I said all that. I said that someone else is getting released today.
Okay, and he's saying someone else, as in he already released somebody today, Jason Beck.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So Putin is doing BOGOs on the prisoners right now.
Oh my God, Jason! Don't try to spin it.
That's what it is. We're getting to. There's another person that's being free today. Why are you guys poo-pooing on this? This is amazing news.
Because you're just straight up lying.
No, I'm not.
Trump is not standing up to Putin. This is not an example.
How is Trump not standing up to Putin? How can you even say that?
He's kissing up to Putin.
Stop it.
Yeah, he doesn't want Putin to share any more videos of Melania on paid TV.
Or of a certain business trip that a president to Moscow when he was interested in building a Trump hotel there.
Oh God, you guys. Jenny Beth,
we'll see.
welcome.
We'll see if Donald Trump or Vladimir Putin is the first one to really release the Epstein files.
Jenny Beth, you have anything you want to throw in on Mr. Fogel's release? Are you with us, Jenny? Oh, your internet's not good. You're breaking up. You're breaking up bad.
Audio only.
Yeah, you're not sounding good at all. Yeah, you sound terrible, Jenny. You sound worse than being sick.
You look like you're in a very serene place, though.
Yeah, she sounds like R2D2 right now.
Yeah. Hang on, I need to connect to the Wi-Fi. Give me just a moment. I'll be right back.
Okay, all right. Do your thing. Well, nonetheless, I think this is fantastic, and I cannot wait to see this Ukraine-Russia war end, and Marc Fogel being the catalyst of that. I am so excited about that.
I think Jared Fogel will be more.
Jason, do you think under Trump that war can end without Ukraine conceding significant portion of their territory? There's a very legitimate question.
You know what? I personally don't care what Ukraine has to succeed in order to end the war. In all reality, hold on, let me finish. Because the reality is they have already succeeded so much of our cash that I'm not worried about any of that.
I think Jared Fogel is more of a
ton of money by fighting the war that we would have had to fight.
This war would have never started if the Democrats didn't steal the 2020 election.
Oh,
what?
fuck.
You're back to that? Unbelievable.
What?
Really?
Yeah, I've never left that position.
See?
So
I like how you guys say I'm back to that. I've never left that.
Invaded Ukraine. You're claiming that Putin. The only reason Putin invaded Ukraine was because
Joe Biden's weak. Because Joe Biden's weak.
That is the most outrageous thing I've ever heard, and that's saying something. That's fucking.
We'll see. We'll see. He only has one more Fogel to release, and that's Jared. When Trump does that, the war will be over.
Yep.
Am I right, Jason? Yeah.
Hey, you guys are amazing today. I can't.
Very much.
I can't believe it. Joe, there you are, Jenny. There you are.
There you go.
Go ahead, Jenny.
I mean, leave it to this group. Find a way to poo-poo on the fact that a man was released that should have never been there in the first and should have been released as a higher priority, because at the end of the day, he was over there teaching our diplomats children, and we just left him there.
Not to mention, he was arrested first.
Yeah, no, nobody was poo-pooing on that part of it. We were poo-pooing on the other side.
We're poo-pooing the people taking.
Well, I'm poo-pooing on the fact that I was still talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys gotta let Jenny finish talking.
No.
Go ahead, Jenny.
I mean, listen, and I understand what having a president who has friendly situations going on with somebody who is probably some guy we also don't want to fight with, and that resulted in a release. It got done in 2.5 weeks. Like, that's great. And so
that's the part we're poo-pooing on.
Well, you can poo-poo on it all you want, and you can hate him all you want, but hey, guess what? We got 3 years and a whole lot more days left.
I can't
get
wait.
used to
So
it.
good.
Buckle up and get pissed.
Yeah, and he's already released 10 people have already been released under his tenure, Sohum. 10 people have come back to their families. 10 U.S. citizens.
Again, my point is that if you think that started after the inauguration, you are delusional. Like, that is complete delusion.
If you think that the Biden administration did anything, you're delusional.
You think Biden's Department of State was not working on that?
They were not doing nothing, and especially when you talk to Miriam Fogel, she says straight up that the Biden administration was absolutely doing nothing to bring her son home.
You know what? My wife would be saying the same damn thing. To get me
Rubio
home.
himself said that they were not the ones that initiated these conversations.
Right.
Doesn't matter who initiated, bro. It matters who executed.
Oh my God.
Short-sighted, isn't it?
You guys, man, you guys are just amazing, man. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Well, we're going to keep this train rolling. This was fun. Welcome home, Mr. Fogel. We hope to ultimately get you on the show one of these days. Hope you enjoyed your stay in the Lincoln bedroom last night, and can't wait to see some of the photos with you reunited with your family and everyone. I think this is fantastic news, regardless of what all you naysayers want to say.
Where'd he go? Where's home? He's from Wisconsin?
No, he's from Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania.
Well, maybe hopefully his first stop is the basement of Fetterman, and he can pick up a fat sack of California weed.
Yeah, well, he also got to come home to a Birds win, so that's cool.
Well, if he's from Pittsburgh, I don't think he'll be happy about that.
He'll be very happy about a lot of things.
Still all day.
He'll be very happy about a lot of things.
He should not have to pay for cannabis ever again. He should get smoked out wherever he goes.
I agree with that. We'll smoke him out if he comes by here. That's for sure. You already know that with some of the best weed in the world, Omar. But nonetheless, we're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right into attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer. Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, correctional officers, and for the last 25 years, he specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to still save his law license as well. He's blunt. He doesn't smoke them. He's honest, and he's unconcerned with public opinions as well as your opinion, and apparently mine. And we'll tell you and show you how to defy gravity by pissing up a rope. That's right. It's none other than your favorite T.O. Loco himself, and you can now find him at his own private practice at the law office of Dale Schafer. Mr. Attorney at Law, Mr. Dale Schafer.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning on the East Coast. Dig out from that snow. It's coming. All right, my story this morning comes from Marijuana Moment by Ben Adlin. It was from yesterday, and the headline is Federal Agency Will Host Open and Candid Discussion, in parentheses, on Marijuana Breathalyzer Technology. Now, as I read this, and Omar, you'll back me up on this, I'm thinking, you guys are wasting money here, as breathalyzers do not indicate impairment after smoking weed. But what we've got here, and hopefully we can send a message to Doge. You might want to go look at some of these agencies that are doing these workshops and shit, because it's a total fucking waste of time. We got the National Institute of Standards and Technology is hosting a workshop, okay? And of the stupid fucking workshops I've heard, this one's right up there, top of the list. Building a path forward for meaningful cannabis breathalyzer realization. Oh, hang on. You know, I'm manifesting abundance here, and I'm contemplating on. It's like, you're full of shit. When we talk about someone being arrested and prosecuted for driving under the influence, government's got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to a moral certainty you actually were impaired in operating a motor vehicle. Now, I have children and grandchildren and friends. I don't recommend you get impaired and operate a motor vehicle, fly a plane, ride a boat, operate dangerous machinery. It's pretty stupid. Okay? But the definition of an impairment with cannabis is not the same as the definition of impairment for alcohol. Before we set per se standards for alcohol, which is now universally 0.08% blood alcohol concentration, there were multiple studies of how the liver clears, the timing of how it clears, what happens when you have certain levels of blood alcohol, how it affects your ability to safely operate a motor vehicle, and most importantly, not get into car accidents, okay? And the consensus in the science community was that you off-gas alcohol, it's reasonable to predict with a breathalyzer about where your blood alcohol level is. And if you do a field sobriety test and someone blows over a 0.8, you probably got enough that they're going to cop a plea. They're not taking that to trial, because you can bring in expert after expert to prove Blood alcohol can be predicted, and the level of impairment from blood alcohol can be predicted. Science is there. Okay. When it comes to weed, the science is not there. And it doesn't matter how many shoehorns you bring to try and squeeze alcohol thinking and technology into cannabis, you can't make it fit. Okay. First and foremost, the level of impairment does not correlate to nanograms per milliliter. And that's how they do per se's here. 3 to 5 nanograms per milliliter of THC. Some people try to argue that it equals a level of impairment, even though multiple studies by the federal government have shown that there is no direct correlation. And certainly, if I'm going to try a case and you're going to say, oh, your guy had, 5 nanograms, there was no testing at the field, you didn't follow him, get pictures of him going between the lanes, acting stupid. None of that. You're just you have 5 nanograms, therefore you're guilty. I can roll in experts all day long that'll testify that that's just simply not true. And in one of the studies cited here, there were like a dozen studies looked at. 10 of them said there's no correlation. 2 said there was. Okay. So if you think you're going to come in with an expert and prove that someone was impaired while driving because they had some per se level of cannabis, doesn't work. The other problem you have is that if you're an experienced user and you use cannabis regularly, like on a daily level, you're probably walking around with 5 nanograms per milliliter all day long. Now, if you're an inexperienced or naive user and you got 5 nanograms per milliliter, you may not be someone who should be driving a car. And the best thing I've ever seen about driving with cannabis is like what they put on the side of a medicine bottle. Do not operate a vehicle or dangerous machinery until you know what this medication does to you. Now, that's not conducive to putting somebody on trial in front of a jury and proving that they were impaired driving under cannabis. It just doesn't work. The liver does not clear like it clears alcohol. I mean, the first thing it does is it turns Delta-9 into hydroxy-11, which is very sedating, but it does it very slowly unless you eat it. So correlations just aren't there. And for this group, building a path forward, whatever nonsense, let's send an email to Elon. Why don't you go take a look and see if this is a fucking waste of our taxpayer dollars again? Go look at this. When every expert says this is horseshit, you'll never prove a case, so just stop per se. Police should do their job. You should document that you're driving, can't stay in the lanes, you're following too close. Have their camera show that you can't finish the sentence because you're too fucked up. And then perhaps if they get a blood THC level that's higher than 5 nanograms, you might be able to prove it. I wouldn't make a large bet on it. Okay? I'm going to throw this back at you, and I'm really curious, Omar, what you think about trying to prove this once again.
Well, I think it's a waste of time. They're just going down a Box Canyon. It's not going to lead anywhere. And so this has already been studied exhaustively by the California DMV that was trying to prove a correlation between the THC in the blood and impairment and driving. And, it's very unlike alcohol because experienced, unnaive users of cannabis are able to be much safer drivers than even sober drivers because they overestimate their impairment. And with alcohol, you become reckless. You underestimate your impairment. You don't realize how impaired you are. You have this Dunning-Kruger effect. But with cannabis, it's quite the opposite. Like people overestimate their impairment and they tend to be more careful. That's why sometimes people drive overly slow when they're stoned and they get pulled over for that because you can't drive too slow either. And so, generally, I'm not encouraging people who are naive users to drive on cannabis. I'm not encouraging anybody to really drive on cannabis because it's hard to tell, the line between naive and experienced, but certainly there is no per se impairment. Now, there's a difference between intoxication and impairment. So sometimes DUI lawyers say, driving while impaired is not driving while intoxicated, because you can be high and not be impaired. And that's a nuance that is missing from a lot of this, scientific stuff. It's almost like with alcohol, if you could be a little bit buzzed, 0.05%, and that's legal, but you can't be like, pretty buzzed at 0.08%. But there are lawful levels of alcohol buzz that are allowed for even driving. You can have 0.06, 0.07. That's all legal as long as you're not actually impaired and you're not showing impairment. And so for DUI, there's two ways the prosecution can prove somebody is guilty of DUI. Number one is the per se limits, and then number two, actual impairment. And you don't have to be using an illegal drug to be actually impaired. You can be taking prescription drugs. And if you're impaired, you're impaired. You're not supposed to be driving, period. And so my thought on what a waste of money that is being thrown at this issue of cannabis impairment, when they really should be studying the medical effects and medical benefits of cannabis. Put the money into that. Start studying some of that. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit that could benefit from double-blind clinical testing that these federal research dollars are aimed at.
I have a slightly different take on this. I'm cautiously optimistic about it.
Here we go.
I agree with what both of you said about the science behind cannabis impairment versus alcohol impairment. But I think it's a little bit encouraging that the entity that's in charge of this research is NIST, who generally tend to be nonpartisan and more science focused as opposed to something like NIDA. So that's where like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic about the fact that they will NIST is more likely to follow the science as opposed to whatever their political prohibitionist agenda is that we've seen the way that NIDA approaches these types of issues. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I got a follow-up question to that. And people were ordered to leave the government at the head of a lot of these organizations and these departments if their politics did not align with the agenda of 47. That would be like my pushback on that, is I would just have straight up caution on any of these departments going forward, because it's just going to be partisan. That's just the name of the game.
That's a fair point. I guess maybe I haven't seen anything about NIST in the news, at least. Like, I'm assuming that's probably not the highest on the priority list. So we'll see what happens. I mean, like I said, I think the most encouraging part about this for me is the fact that it's not NIDA or NIH that's in charge of this, because or the DEA or any of these other historically prohibitionist organizations and parts of the government.
I have to agree with you, Rico, on this. I think Doe should come in and evaluate all this, because I think this is just a whole big waste of government money. It's a whole waste of time, a whole waste of resources, and a whole waste of smart people doing other things that they could be smart at, because this is just dumb.
I don't know the technology exists to actually get an accurate reading if someone blows into a device. How much actual THC do they have in their blood? I don't know that technology is very well developed. And even if it was, it doesn't correlate to your being a risk on the highway. And that really is, that's been gone over so many times. Like, why do we keep asking this question? Let's find a different way to do this. Like, maybe the police should turn on their forward-facing camera and follow someone for a minute and say, "Are you all over the road?" And then have your body camera show you talk, ask them, "Where are you?" And they go, "Oh, I'm fucking in Panama, man. I don't know." Like, like, okay, dude, maybe you need to come with us and we're going to work you up. That's how, DWI used to work before you had a breathalyzer. They just want something that, an objective standard. No, it means you don't want to do the hard work.
It's more.
And they want to find a way to do this as quickly. Write a report. You got a breathalyzer, off you go, and the case is resolved, and I'm on to my next case. Some of this is hard work.
Which
we have due process rights here, and that's part of the problem. We have due process rights to say, hang on, you got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury of my peers that I was too fucked up to drive. So let's go forward with that.
For a conviction, but not for arrest. All they need is probable cause.
But think about it this way. theoretically, if the science did exist to measure actual impairment from cannabis, that would be a good thing because it removes the ability for police to use their subjective opinion if they just don't like you, if they don't like the color of your skin, if they don't like something else about you, they don't like your bumper sticker. But you can say that your eyes are red and there was a smell of marijuana coming from the car, and boom, like that's enough for a charge for them, right? Whereas if there were hypothetically a way to do this, I'm not endorsing any of the current science that's out there right now, but if hypothetically there was a way to objectively measure impairment, I think that would be a better situation.
Yeah.
You know how the cops objectively measure impairment for looking for actual impairment, like somebody's not able to stay on the road, they're weaving, they're going over the fog line, they're going over the double yellow line, they're like endangering the traffic. You know, that is a strong case of impairment. When you actually see,
it should be obvious. Exactly, it should be obvious. If you're impaired by cannabis, it's pretty obvious. It's not like you need some scientific tool to figure it out.
Yeah, but what I've seen happen, and this happened to my son, and Omar helped me with this, is that his buddy sparked up a pipe, and there was weed smell in the car, but my son hadn't used it, and we didn't have a video of the field sobriety test, so all we had was, they said you were impaired. So now it's like, because there was a smell, and the cop says you were impaired, you got to go settle the case because you can't win them in front of a jury.
And that's how you win. You get a good lawyer like that. Then that's, you know what I'm saying? You get a good lawyer like Omar to defend you in that.
You don't have to perform the field sobriety test. Those are not required by
that's
law.
True. That's right.
You have to blow and you have to give urine. Those are implied consent. You have to do that. You have to do chemical testing or you will lose your license for up to a year. But stupid Petrix, which I call the field sobriety test, nobody's ever required to do them in order to get a driver's license. If they really prove that you're not impaired, you would have to do that before your driving test. Why do you never have to do this stupid field sobriety test before your driving test?
Has anyone ever in the history of being administered a field sobriety test passed a field sobriety test?
I pass them every time. I pass them every time. No problem.
And the cops are like, oh, well, it was 31 seconds instead of 30 seconds when they closed their eyes and estimated the amount. They failed. Bullshit.
Yeah.
I pass them every time. You know how I pass them? I tell them I can't do them. I can't do them. I'm disabled. I couldn't do it. I can't walk a straight line, period. You know what I'm saying? I have no source of balance.
Yeah, so you would say that they're inherently biased, right?
I do believe that. I do believe that they're total bullshit, and no one should take a field sobriety test. But on this subject, since we're talking about this field sobriety component, Cloviticus in the Rumble chat. Shout out to everyone in the Rumble chat today. Says
chlamydia.
Says my friend said Listerine zeroes it out, and I'm going to tell you right now, do not use Listerine because that will not zero it out. That'll actually give you a higher alcohol content. And I saw a video this week of some people doing a test, and there's another thing that law enforcement can do that will actually raise your blood alcohol level when you blow into one of these little machines with these straws, and that is if the law enforcement officer, when he attaches the screw, has just recently put hand sanitizer on his on his hands, and that can actually raise your impairment level also. Now it's not a lot, but it could be enough to push you over the ledge. And so people need to make sure that they are aware of this and make sure that law enforcement officers have not used hand sanitizer prior to that, because that can give you a false positive as well.
At least it gives the police officer the excuse for not being a dirty cop, right?
Oh God! Oh my God!
But I digress. Ludacris said in Blueberry Yum Yum that mustard, keeping mustard packets in your car and scarfing those down when you get approached with the breathalyzer works. Did anybody have any results from that?
Well, I've always been told.
Are you saying we should keep some mustard on the dash, ho?
I've always been. That's funny. That's funny. Only if it's Grey Poupon, Sohum. But I have heard things about a penny, sucking on a penny I have heard those things. I actually tried that one time, and I blew a perfect .08, and so was able to skate ultimately. But I'm not sure if that necessarily worked or not. But I did try it.
Donald Trump's trying to do it with that too, man. All connected.
0.08. I think what helped you skate was your privilege, my friend, because
I don't buy any. I don't buy any of that bullshit, Omar. That's total bullshit. You've represented me in a number of cases. You know that is not the case with me. Okay, I'm not.
You're talking about pretty privilege, bro.
Stop it. Stop the ridiculously. You guys, no, you guys are living in a fantasy world when you talk about these things.
It's a real thing. I represented very attractive people in court, and they always get better initial deals and better final deals. And I studied.
I didn't even have to show up to court. You showed up to court for me.
There you are. Well, then it's my beauty rubbed off on you, I guess.
That's quite possible. That's quite possible, Omar.
Jason, you can attribute it to whatever you want, but you have to admit that most people do not get a warning when you blow a .08.
No.
Hey, you know, a lot of people. Hold on.
They have a charge for a baby DUI.
A lot of people don't have the gift of gab. A lot of people don't have the gift of gab. A lot of people are not people and can talk to these people and approach them in normal ways. And probably maybe some of them really are drunk and like appear to be drunk. That's very possible too.
Yeah.
You know, people have different tolerance levels when it comes to these things, just like with cannabis, and all those factors can play into that. I'm not attributing. I don't believe in the whole race baiting thing that you guys are trying to jump into. But
nobody's race baiting. I literally said
we got to keep it moving, man.
Yeah. We got to go to our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Speaking of tons of drugs, we are back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And welcome home, Mr. Marc Fogel.
Jared, you're next.
A business that's suffering from the hyperinflation that is plaguing America today. We have the solution for you. That's right. Patriot Business Financing. Head on over to www.patriotbfc.com and apply for a loan up to $2 million. Any state, any industry, even the cannabis industry, the CBD industry, as well as the industrial hemp fiber industry, secure up to $2 million today. And make sure that when you apply, you tell Paul you said hi from High at 9.
Oh, and we are back, you guys. Are back.
Yeah. Up next, y'all, we have the legendary bi-coastal man of law who also boasts a brown belt and still brown belt, right? Yeah. Brown belt in high style Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So you better not fuck up the rotation when you're around him. He will break your face and walk away. But he still will get you off the hook. Coming to the stage, none other than Omar Figueroa with a very, very important story. I cannot wait to hear what you got today, my man.
Thank you, Rico. Happy National Freedom to Marry Day, everyone. Educate yourself on marriage equality issues and show your support for the rights of all individuals to marry who they love. My story is from MJ Biz Daily by MJ Biz Daily staff. The headline is, Trump taps career DEA official to lead agency, oversee marijuana rescheduling. President Donald Trump's choice to lead the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration is Terrence Cole, a career DEA official currently serving as a top law enforcement official in Virginia. The appointment of a longtime DEA insider, which Trump announced midday Tuesday in a social media post, is not likely to boost hopes that the agency will resume the Biden administration-initiated cannabis rescheduling process. A previous Trump pick to head the DEA, Chad Chronister, a Florida sheriff, abruptly withdrew his nomination for the post. Cole served more than 2 decades in the DEA, retiring in 2020 as the acting regional director overseeing operations in Canada, Central America, and Mexico. Trump has said he supports marijuana rescheduling, but Cole's resume does not suggest he may embrace cannabis reform. After exiting the DEA, Cole joined Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin's administration, where he served as the State Secretary of Public Safety and Homeland Security. Youngkin, who has repeatedly opposed adult use cannabis sales in Virginia, praised Cole's appointment. He will put the safety and security of Americans first as head of the DEA, Youngkin said in a statement. It's a great day to be an American and a bad day to be a drug dealer. If confirmed by the Senate, Cole would assume control of the paused cannabis rescheduling process. Rescheduling has been on hold since January after pro-legalization designated participants in hearings before a DEA administrative law judge accused the DEA of bias. Critics have accused the DEA of slow-walking the process and refusing to hear evidence from states, including Colorado, in support of the change. Considering those designated participants' appeal and resuming the process or abandoning it is solely up to the discretion of the DEA administrator. The acting administrator, Derek Maltz, also a longtime DEA insider, has not moved to resume the rescheduling process, nor did he indicate any plans one way or the other. Capitol Hill observers believe federal agencies such as the DEA, as well as Republican lawmakers, will pursue whatever marijuana policy the White House demands. However, a Trump edict issued on Inauguration Day froze all changes to federal law pending review and approval by a department or agency chief appointed by the president. The headline is, Trump taps career DEA official to lead agency oversee marijuana rescheduling. My take is I'm not excited, but I'm not surprised. Trump has been quoted as saying he only picks the best people. Is this the best America can do? I want to hear from my fellow correspondents. This is Omar Figueroa, lawyer, publisher, and Ganjier instructor, reporting from Sonoma County, California, the traditional territory of the Pomo, Miwok, and Wapo nations for High at 9, high noon Eastern.
You know what, Omar? The craziest part about this is, before I let Jason get his spin
Yeah.
Right. The craziest thing about this is Chronister, the first guy that he chose who was pro-cannabis, who was all about decriminalization. The crazy thing is he pulled him out of the running because he recommended that churches not let people come in while we were at an all-time high during COVID-19. That was the reason why he pulled him out.
Wow.
How crazy is that? Like he said, so this is back in
he had not vetted his nominee, and then when he found out he pulled him.
Yes. So, Chronister abruptly withdrew first week of December amid controversy over reports that he shut down local churches at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. He publicly cited dedication to his constituents in Hillsborough County, but the Washington Examiner's Haston Willis reported that Trump did not let that go unchecked, and he responded, he didn't pull out. I pulled him out because I did not like what he said to my pastors and other supporters.
He pulled out, huh?
He pulled out with the pastor?
Yeah, pulled out with a pastor. Exactly. Thank you, Sohum. Yeah. Look.
Can I predict Jason's spin on this right here?
Go for it.
Oh,
Go
yes,
for
please.
it, Sohum.
Let's do it.
Jason is going to tell us that it doesn't matter what Cole's lifetime perspective on cannabis is.
It doesn't. You're right.
Because Trump has indicated that he's pro rescheduling, pro descheduling.
You're right.
This guy will swallow his pride and do whatever Trump wants.
He will. just like I had my coffee just there. Just, you know what I'm saying? One big gulp, boom, done, easy peasy. Yeah, no, you're totally right about all of that, Sohum. I totally agree with you today on this. This is exactly right.
Agree with that. I was just predicting what ass backwards explanation you were going to use.
It's not ass backwards. It's just reality.
It is.
It's just reality.
No, it's not.
Trump voted.
If it was anybody else, you would say, why are we making this speculative, conjecture about what his view is going to be when he has openly told the world over and over and over again that he is anti-cannabis.
I mean, I'm not too worried.
You just don't want to hear the "we told you so."
I don't care. I'm going to hear that all day, every day from you guys, all the way. I have you guys on all the time. I'm going to hear that. I'm already. Too. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, it's like I'm a professional flag football player. I do so much spinning.
Yeah. All right. You want me to have
about to turn into a tornado.
What's that, Dale?
DEA's been around since 1973. Everything they've ever done is drag their feet, obfuscate, force you to take them to court to make them go to the next phase. They've been uncooperative. You've got a deeply entrenched DEA operative going to take over, and you think he's going to support bull fucking shit. Trump has no cannabis policy.
He is, or he's going to get fired.
Trump has no policy for cannabis. Okay.
He does. He voted yes on it. He does have a policy. He says that people shouldn't be going to jail for it. He's clearly stated that. It's even on Truth Social. You could. I'm going to take a picture of it for you today.
The guy lies like a goddamn rug. You believe anything he says?
Yeah. He's the one president that actually campaigns and does and follows through on the things that he campaigns on.
Tell the truth if it bit him on the ass.
Oh,
Jason.
stop it!
Stop that. He's a sociopathic liar.
No way.
You're going to take whatever he says as because Trump said it must be true. Guy will flip and change his opinion. He doesn't have a policy on marijuana. He's never smoked. He doesn't know what it's about. He'll mouth whatever he thinks is going to get him elected. Now he's got to run the country, and it's like, inside my law enforcement, they don't want me to do this. Guess what? I'm going to drag my feet.
And what have we talked about over and over on this show about why it's so hard, why there's so much resistance from the DEA to rescheduling? It's because it affects their budget. In what world do you think Trump's new DEA head is going to be like, you know what? Fuck all those hundreds of millions or billions of dollars.
Just wait till Doge gets in there.
For cannabis enforcement. We don't want that anymore.
Just wait till Doge gets in there. I'm not worried about that at all.
Hold on. I would argue against that, Jason. Why? Because Liz Warren, your homegirl, Liz Warren, told them that
she's about to get investigated.
They should be defunding this, and because of that, they're going to go right against it.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not. That's
because Donald Trump is a petty, messy motherfucker, and just because he was recommended something by Liz Warren or anybody who's gone against him, he will go diametrically opposed to that sentiment.
No. I don't buy that for a second. I mean, Elizabeth Warren's about to be under investigation by Doge for how she has all these millions and millions of dollars with a $200,000 a year salary. So I'm not too worried about anything that Elizabeth Warren has to say. Okay, but I would love to see Doge get into the DEA and get into the fanatics of this, because the DEA actually should just be strictly focused on fentanyl, and work on the eradication of fentanyl, and that should be their number one priority overall on everything. Period. Point blank. As far as that whole agency is concerned. And so I don't understand why we're spending so much time talking about what the DEA is going to do in regards to this and this and that, because they need to just be focused on fentanyl.
I would not be surprised
if focus on rescheduling. You're not going to get your 280E tax relief.
I don't want it rescheduled, Omar. I've never been in favor of that. I think it's a death blow to the cannabis industry, even more than 280E.
Wait, so Jason, you don't think the DEA should be worried, or anybody should be worried about cocaine in the White House anymore? Now that Trump.
Well, yeah. Now that Hunter Biden's not in the White House, yeah, I agree. We don't have to worry about cocaine in the White House.
Jr. definitely has never touched the stuff.
Trump. I mean, I've had conversations in regards with this, and he's 100% clean and sober in regards, and he knows that if he ever touches any of that stuff, he's going to get written out of the will. So I'm not worried about him touching any of that.
Sure.
Where did you get that story from?
I got it from him. I had a conversation with him in regards.
You
We
believe him?
FaceTime this morning.
Yeah, you're funny. You guys are funny. You guys are funny.
They were up all night chatting about it.
Oh, man.
Expect cocaine and ketamine to be legalized before weed does under Donald Trump.
Oh boy. Well, we're gonna roll into our final commercial. This is a great story. Thank you so much, Omar, for covering it. And I wish the Cole memo was here to see this. I would love to see what he had to say in regards to this. But nonetheless, we're going to our final commercial.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, I left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Oh man, you guys have
Junior actually idolizes Hunter.
You guys have such good jokes today. Such good jokes, man. It's definitely, you know, this episode has been fun. I hope everyone at home is enjoying it as much as we are.
Serious as a heart attack here.
Up next is the man with over a decade of cannabis technology experience, straight out the ATX.
It's Austin. ATX is for people that can't read.
Where he is
in Austin, Texas, right?
All right, straight out of the ATX, stays on his grind, and currently working on an athlete-focused lifestyle brand of the same exact damn name. My man, Sohum Shah. Break us off with some truth, my brother. Jason Beck does not want to hear it.
Nah, Jason we might all be on the same page on this one. I'm gonna bring it back to my favorite topic that I seem to have talked about like the last 3 weeks in a row, but cannabis adult use taxes. And this was originally reported by Marijuana Moments' Kyle Yeager. Bipartisan governors in multiple states proposed significant marijuana tax increases. Governors in at least 4 U.S. states are proposing significant tax increases for legal marijuana products. In Maine, Maryland, Michigan, and Ohio, bipartisan governors are floating tax hikes within their state cannabis programs, a trend that raises questions about balancing revenue goals with the need to bring consumers into the legal marketplace. These aren't small tax proposals on the table either. We'll go through a little bit on each state. So in Maine, Democratic Governor Janet Mills put forward a budget request late last month that would increase the sales tax on marijuana by 40%, raising it from 10% to 14%, beginning on January 1st of next year. The governor's office estimates that the tax rate change would generate almost $4.2 million in additional revenue in the 2026 fiscal year and another $11.5 million in the following. In Maryland, Governor Westmore, also a Democrat, under his budget plan, the tax rate of marijuana would increase from 9% to 15%, a 67% hike starting in July of 2026. Meanwhile, the budget also calls for a strategic investment of $5 million to convert a vacant armory in Catonsville into an incubator space for marijuana businesses. In Michigan, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, a Democrat, is seeking to impose a new wholesale marijuana tax that would be paid by licensed cannabis operators rather than consumers. Side note, that sounds like some right-wing logic on how tariffs work, because the consumers are still going to end up paying that, just indirectly.
Yeah.
Her office says that the intent is to close a loophole, quote-unquote loophole, that's exempted the industry from such a tax. However, while the policy change is projected to bring in $470 million in new revenue, which would go towards road repairs, the governor didn't specify what she thinks the exact tax rate should be, saying that would be up for negotiation with the legislature. She said, after voters legalized marijuana, the industry has grown exponentially thanks in part to Michigan's industry-friendly tax, the fourth lowest in the nation. The industry, which recorded billions in sales in 2024, uses Michigan roads to transport marijuana multiple times throughout the process, including to grow operations, testing labs, distribution hubs, and finally retail stores. Okay, I guess that's unique to the cannabis business in Michigan. In Ohio, Governor Mark DeWine, a Republican, is proposing to double the 10% tax rate on cannabis under the state's voter-approved legalization law to 20%. The hike would go even further than the bill that passed the state Senate in late 2023. That legislation, which the government tentatively supported, called for a 15% tax on cannabis. Last month, Ohio Republican lawmakers separately revived an effort to significantly alter the state's voter-approved marijuana legalization law, in part by raising the tax to 15% and cutting the number of home-grow plants in half. Notably, DeWine, who opposes legalization, pledged to implement the will of the voters that approved the reform, proposing a tax rate on cannabis that matches with what pro-legalization Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, a Democrat, called for in his latest budget request, which we covered last week. You can read more about the taxes and the details about it on the website. But yeah, I hope all of these governors, some of which who have been pretty friendly to the industry, rethink some of these decisions. Once again, is what the article mentioned at the beginning is we're always, and legislatures are always, trying to balance whatever their revenue projections are on, and this is why it gets dangerous using that as a selling point on legalization of cannabis. But let's kick it back to the team. This is Sohum reporting from the ATX for High at 9 News, and hear what everyone.
Oh, I mean, I'll go ahead.
We wouldn't have these problems. We wouldn't have these problems if billionaires paid their fair share.
God. Did I hear this all correctly? That every single governor that you mentioned was a Democrat,
except Ohio.
Except Ohio.
The tax.
He's a Democrat too. He's not a he's a rhino Democrat. He is not a real Republican governor. That guy.
Yeah, I guess he just doesn't bend the knee to Donald Trump and everything that he says.
He's a rhino. He's like a Liz Cheney. That party.
Liz Cheney, on paper, is a Republican.
No, she's not. No one identifies her as that. She just wants to identify as that.
Okay, Donald Trump, on paper, is a criminal.
I mean, pretty much everyone in the cannabis space is too.
He identifies as a Republican, though.
Yes, he does identify, but we don't want to get into a DEI speech here today. CRT.
I don't know why this is so hard for people to understand. And at some point, looking back, the Wharton School of Economics and others are going to go, okay, so we set an industry up, we regulate the shit out of them, we tax the shit out of them. The federal government uses 280E, so your employee expenses, which is, half, if not more of your expenses, can be written off.
Exactly.
Okay. And now, we're going to raise the taxes now because we think there's more cream to take off the top. And if you answer, let's do that on the question, you should fail.
I agree, Dale. Totally. This is
crazy.
It is asinine, half-assed backwards. I don't understand where these guys are getting these budget sheets to where they're trying to figure out and why they think that they can pull this out of cannabis. But they need to pull it out of their ass somewhere else.
We're still looked upon as a criminal organization. Okay, crime against cannabis is soft crime in the law enforcement world. They'll get there when they can. If it's a bank, they're right there. But if it's your dispensary, we'll get there when we can. And they still think that we're burying money somewhere, and we'll just take some more off the top. And if you don't like it, you can go dig it out in your backyard where you're burying it. But what they're doing is they're forcing distros to go, you know what? We're selling this in New York. Fuck selling it in Southern California. Yeah. They're ruining the industry, and you can look them in the eye and explain it to them, do the math for them, and they still think, well, yeah, you guys are not being honest. There's money somewhere. We're going to take some more money from you till the whole thing crashes, and the trap's just laughing. They're just laughing all the way to where they really bury their money.
Yeah, I think the Democrats are just tone deaf when it comes to these taxes, especially times like this. Like, voters do not want to hear that tax shit, especially if these motherfuckers in office right now ain't paying no taxes and they're talking shit about the IRS. They need to do a temperature check on the streets and find out.
I think there's a generally it's a higher perception of the industry as a whole to mainstream Americans where it's still acceptable to to charge us a sin tax, right? Excise taxes on
Right.
because what we do is not okay. Therefore, we should pay a premium for the privilege to operate out in the open. And I think that's really the bigger perception issue that we have as an industry, is that people look past the basic economics, price economics, which shouldn't be that hard to comprehend as to why you were pushing people into the illicit market. But it's still acceptable as a whole to charge us a premium, a penalty, to allow us to operate.
Yeah.
Right.
Alcohol is taxed at 1 to 3%. So, 1 to 3% for the sin of consuming single malt scotch, okay, or whatever. It's relatively low. And if it was relatively low in our industry and we could deal with 280E, I don't think anybody'd be complaining.
Yeah.
You start stacking the cost of regulation, inability to write shit off because of 280E, and then you look at California's going to go to 19%, and we're going to trade that for, we're going to extra tax high content THC.
Yeah.
Come on. Nobody's looking at the reality. If we don't make this industry viable, and we're going to be spending money in enforcement against the trap.
You're so right, Dale. I think this is something. I think this last story is something that we all agree on all across the board. Look at that, you guys.
Absolutely. And I mean, like you said, Dale, if the tax rate started at 1.5% excise wholesale tax, for example, and they wanted to double it, it'd be kind of outrageous to double the tax, but that would be a lot more digestible than talking about going from 6% to 15% or 9% to 15% or 10% to 20%. Like, that's fucking outrageous. That is completely outrageous.
Yeah, they're taxing success. You know,
Yeah,
and that's
criminal.
Up. If you want more and more people to be shopping at legal operations, then make it cheaper for them to buy it from legal operations.
Yep.
Like, straight up. Like, it just does not make any sense.
Apparently, all these politicians forget about price elasticity from their microeconomics 101 class when they start talking about cannabis.
They were stoned during that class, so they don't remember.
I mean,
maybe they were cutting.
That's why I remember it.
Maybe they were cutting class, Dale. They just weren't there.
Yeah.
Maybe they were paying off.
Doesn't make any sense.
Maybe they were paying off the teacher to say that they were present.
Maybe.
You never know. Any final thoughts on this, Omar, before we move to the final story?
Yeah, I mean, really, all of these tax hikes, it's artificial price supports for the trap.
Yep.
And we're seeing it across the country. They're subsidizing the trap with the tax hike.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and with this prohibitionist enforcement coming into power here, it's gonna get ugly real quick, man. It's gonna get ugly, and my prediction is you're gonna see a lot of good people that were just trying to feed their family get put away, doing hard time, all because y'all wanted to tax success. Watch.
Yeah. Speaking of taxing success, you guys, I'm just gonna read kind of the first couple things of Jenny Beth's story, just so that way you guys can know, and you guys can read this whole thing on our website at www.highat9news.com if you want to see the full story. Because out there in the great state of Florida, there's a cannabis critic warns that lawmakers about the dangers of today's pot, you guys, and urges against ever legalizing it. Dr. Jessica Spencer, who worked to defeat Amendment 3 last year, also called on the legislature to fund education efforts about the risks of early marijuana use. And it says a leading Florida critic of the daily cannabis consumption urged a legislative panel on Tuesday to increase state funding in elementary schools to warn about the risks of early marijuana use, especially related to brain development. And her name is Dr. Jessica Spencer, out there in the great state of Florida, you guys. And to me, this is one big this firebomb of gaslighting right here, of a whole bunch of fake news coming out of Florida, and just these people, these prohibitionists, will never stop. I just I can't wait till Project Sam's USAID money runs out, because they're not getting any more of it. Any thoughts on this, fellas?
I mean, I agree with you mostly. I was confused by the headline, because my title was Cannabis Critic when I was reviewing marijuana newspaper in Denver. That's why I was like, why is a cannabis critic talking about this?
Well, she's criticizing cannabis, saying that it should.
Somebody she's a critic. I get it. It was confusing wording.
All right.
Well, I'd like to see some actual research to show the relationship between early use of cannabis and the brain not developing. Because what I'm aware of is that Melanie Dreyer did a longitudinal study out of Jamaica where they do smoke quite a bit of weed, and women smoke it when they're pregnant. All the children met their benchmarks. Okay, so I'd like to see, maybe you do a scan of them. Oh, this kid's mom smoked, he started smoking early, and show us an atrophied brain. Otherwise, shut the fuck up.
Yep.
And there's people here too. There's Dr. Joy Beckerman, who I believe she was based out of Oregon or Washington. I can't remember. She's been a huge hemp advocate for years. She's one person that will openly talk about how she consumed cannabis during her pregnancies. I think both of her sons have both undergrad and master's degrees from Ivy League institutions, and she's one of the few people in the U.S. that's willing to stand up and talk about that openly, publicly. So, yeah, Dale, I agree with you. We need to get more research on that, and so we can prove that that's just not true.
My experience in the medical community, if they don't have the proof, they're very cautious. Okay. Oh, let's just all be, people have been smoking weed for at least 5,000 years now. Okay. And old physicians weren't stupid. If you're smoking weed and you have a kid with 3 arms, they go, oh, maybe you might have a problem here with weed. But if you have none of that, okay, and the people go through this, they smoke weed, they turn out to be decent leaders, decent parents, move society forward. Okay, where is the evidence here for 5,000 years? Because there are substances we've created in my lifetime that gave you no arms and no legs. You had hands and feet attached to your shoulders and your hips. Okay, we've seen things like that. I have never seen any evidence to show smoking weed atrophies your brain, prevents it from developing, things like that. They don't know, so they're very scared. And that's part of the problem we had with COVID. Doctors were afraid, so they closed the whole goddamn economy down. And it's like, did we need to do that? Well, fear drove us. Well, don't let fear drive us here.
Exactly.
You should not be afraid. I'm not saying if you're 12 years old, you should be rolling the joint every day before you walk out the door. Okay. But to say this is going to cause all these problems when there isn't evidence other than we don't have the proof, so therefore I'm afraid. Fuck you, doctors. Sit down. People are pissed off at you right now because you don't really use science in ways that are helpful. You let people that are not physicians tell you how to practice medicine.
Yep.
That's what the Health Maintenance Act did to us from 1974. Now, they're shooting CEOs of United Health because we're just sick and tired of you guys ruining our lives, and no one wants to stand up. No physician's going to stand up. I mean, Todd McAree looked him in the eye and told him to go fuck themselves.
Yeah, he did.
And
rest in
Molly
peace.
was the same way. I mean, we went to prison for it, but she said, you're wrong, fuck you. Not going to do it. And guess what? You spank a couple of doctors, and now they're a bunch of pussies. They just go, I'm not going to say anything here, controversial, I'll do what I'm told.
So right about that. I couldn't agree with you more on that, Dale. People need to develop more spinal glands and develop some backbone and stand up for what's right and speak to truth and not this fear mongering bullshit that gets propagated so much. Anything else before we roll up, guys? All right. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank you to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Thank you so much, Cole Memo, for those big old super chats today. We appreciate it very, very much. Huge thank you to Catalyst and Aim High Hemp Distribution for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Even if you couldn't figure out your internet, Jenny Beth, today, we still love you. Thank you all to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do all this. And thank you to Cloud Media Partners, Anthony out there in the metaverse making it all happen. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.